National Hospital. Now, away from that, as we're still trying to wait for that ruling, let's have this conversation about the sugar wars that is currently facing the Sony Sugar Company. Remember, Sony Sugar Company is one out of the 5 state-owned sugar millers, and of course, operations at that sugar company might come to a halt if things are not sorted out. Remember, early this year, workers at that sugar company threatened to go on strike, but the management of the Sony Sugar Company tried and averted that strike right there. So let's talk to Ochillo Ayacko, Migori Senator, who is also a member of the Senate Agriculture Committee, just to try and explain to us what he's doing also as representative of the people of Migori County when it comes to the woes of that sugar company and the challenges that sugar farmers are facing in Migori County. Thank you so much, Honorable Ayacko, for joining us here on KTN News Center. And a lot has happened within that sugar company. First, I'd like to know about, just to pick your mind on the way forward. Should the sugar company be privatized? Because there have been talks about privatizing some of the state-owned sugar milling companies.
I think that is a conversation that is ongoing. There is a task force that is looking at how to go about privatization, and very soon we are expecting a report of the task force to be made public and public to participate in trying to accept it. I think and I know that most citizens who are farmers, particularly the farmers that I represent in Migori County and the farmers that are in Western Kenya and other places, they look at farming as an economic activity. They would want certainty, they would want continuity, and they would want to profit from their farming activities. It is a human right to find gainful employment, and those who have explored farming as a way of getting gainful employment should be encouraged, because they allow others who do not have access to resources like land or good climate to pursue employment opportunities either from the public or private sector as they continue building the nation. So my view is that if privatization can guarantee certainty to farmers, continuity to farmers and the employees and business people who derive their livelihood from sugar cane growing, milling and sales, then it is the way to go. And I think that looking at how government has performed in terms of doing business, this is a conversation that we are all keen to engage in, and we are all keen to find a sustainable and long-lasting solution to.
And as much as you're in support of that privatization of Sony Sugar Company, but my question is, do you think people who have actually, allow me to say this, brought down the sugar company on its knees should be held accountable? Let me just give you the exact information, because Sony Sugar Company until now is on the spot over the misappropriation of 335 million loan secured from the Commodities Fund in 2017. So as much as you're talking about privatizing this sugar company and other state-owned sugar milling companies, don't you think it's a high time that people who are behind the falling down or behind rather the collapse of these sugar companies should be brought to book?
Very well, Brenda. I believe that action, and very stern action, should be taken against those who have mismanaged, misappropriated resources that are public, resources that are private, and have jeopardized the future of millions of people who depend on sugar. If you look at the outreach of sugar industry in Western Kenya and Nyanza, there are actually more than 5 million people who directly and indirectly depend on it. And the wheels of justice, the long arm of the law, should get to these people and ensure that they belong where they should be, instead of prosecuting somebody who is trying to rescue or to take away his child from hospital these are the people who should be first to be prosecuted, and I hope they wind up in jail.
Let's talk about your representation, as you could, because you represent the entire Migori County. As a member of the Senate, of course, you've not, allow me to say you're newly elected because you're not yet 1 year within the Senate Assembly. So what is your plan when it comes to reviving the Sony Sugar Company before it becomes privatized?
Well, Sony has several challenges that are manifested in the following ways. If you look at farmers who grow cane, and my family is also part of the farming community in that area. I live 2 kilometers from the factory, and generally my neighbors, my brothers, my cousins and relatives are sugarcane growers. I also have people who are related to me, who are my friends, who work in the factory. The problems that are being experienced by Sony are manifested in the following ways. One, you will find that farmers who delivered their cane to Sony way back in February last year have not been paid to date. Their cane was milled and sugar was obtained or extracted from the cane, sold, and they have not been paid up to date. The second manifestation is employees who work for Sony, either as casual contract employees or permanent employees, are now missing their salaries and allowances. Where salaries have been paid, they do not get their statutory deductions remitted or their loans paid. Then the third indicator of the problems that we have is that suppliers who have supplied wares to Sony or consumables to Sony have not been paid to date. And again, we are aware that Sony Sugar Company has not been paying taxes to government. Generally, the confidence of those who have been doing business with Sony is at its lowest ebb, and there is active fear, there is active concern that all is not well in that organization. What we want to do as a Senate, what I want to do and what I've been doing as a member of Parliament sitting in the Senate, I have been together with my colleagues who represent sugarcane farmers and employees of the factory, been visiting government offices. We've been to the Ministry of Agriculture, we've been to the Ministry of Finance, and we've pushed hard enough. And for farmers, there is indication that our government, in its magnanimity, is planning to pay them. The payment, according to the information I have, is it could be released anytime. I sit in the subcommittee that pursues that payment. Our chair is Rosa Buyu from Kisumu, and we have been actively pursuing the payment to farmers and encouraging them to bear with us. Now, we've also been encouraging the Ministry of Agriculture to continue availing subsidized fertilizer so that the farmers can continue accessing fertilizer and use it for production. We have also been pushing the relevant investigative agencies to go after those persons who may have put or dipped their hands in the till that collects the revenue that is derived from sugarcane farming, milling, and trading, so that the issue of governance is addressed. We had a meeting that was chaired by the President in the company of the People's President Raila Amolo Odinga, and it was agreed that we should expedite and encourage the task force that is looking at the possibility of privatizing the sugar mills, so that we have a sustainable way of growing, milling, and selling sugar. So these are activities that we are involved in as leadership from that region, and we hope that all will be well.
Ochillo Ayacko, I'm sure you can still hear me.
Yes, I can, absolutely.
Okay, let's just hold on to your thought, because I need to bring our viewers up to date with the latest information coming from the corridors of justice, specifically the Milimani Law Courts. And I understand that the man who managed to actually, who was caught trying to smuggle his newborn baby out of Kenyatta National Hospital in a carrier bag, has been released free. That is the court ruling that has just, the information that we're getting from the Milimani Law Courts. It is that the man has been freed. Remember, this is after his lawyer said that the 56,000 shillings hospital bill that was required by the hospital, specifically Kenyatta Hospital, before the release of the newborn baby has already been paid. And remember also, just remind you that his lawyer said that the man is remorseful over what he had done, and he regrets over what he had done to ensure that his baby is released from the hospital. And so the latest information developing from that developing story is that the man has actually been freed. This is after, again, he paid the 56,000 shillings that was required by Kenyatta National Hospital. We shall be talking to a reporter, Grace Kuria, later on, just to try and give us more update on that. But let's continue having that discussion about Sony Sugar woes with Migori County Senator, that is Ochillo Ayacko, who's also a member of the Senate Agriculture Committee. And Honorable Ochillo Ayacko, you're talking about, sugarcane farmers who have been distributing the sugarcane to the Sony Sugar Company, actually, planning to down the tools early this year. And of course, that planned strike was averted. But my question is, let's talk about the decision by the company to issue contract labor with pay slips. That's in line with the Employment Act number 11 of 2007. With effect from April this year. I really don't know what you have to say about that.
Well, when I look at it, and from a managerial perspective, I believe that it is good to incentivize and encourage employees. That is one of the ways of ensuring that a mill or an organization is well done. But I'm concerned about the fact that there is need to do right sizing. Part of the challenge that we have in our sugar industries, the public ones, is the indication that we do not have the right size of the staff component or establishment. And this perhaps is what among other factors, create a situation that makes it difficult for those mills to pay. If you look at the other mills that are privately run, I believe that they have done right sizing, and they have done skill alignment, so that every person engaged in sugar milling and marketing has something productive to get involved in. So I hope that
Honorable Ayacko, allow me to cut you short, and I want us to talk to the CEO of Sony Sugar Company, who's joining us via way of phone, and of course we've managed to get a hold of him. And thank you so much for talking to us here. Of course, we're also having this discussion with the senator of your county, that is Ochillo Ayacko. And first things first, what's some of the challenges that are facing the sugar company?
Hello?
I can hear you. If you can hear me, kindly.
Yeah, not very clearly, but just keep on talking.
If you can hear me,
can
sir.
You hear me?
I can hear you.
Hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes. Sugarcane industry, the senator knows because he comes from